Mr. Sean O'Connell, how you doing, sir?
My friend, my brother. Hello,
Hey.
Dave. Good to be with you.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing over there?
I'm well. I'm jealous of your shirt. I ordered that, but mine hasn't come yet.
What can I say? I got special privileges, I guess. I don't know.
Guess so, yeah.
I don't know. It was nice because I had somebody, I think it was actually Colbert, who showed that he got his shirt. So I was wondering when I got home yesterday if it was going to be right there in the mailbox, and sure enough, right there. It's a little itchy, but it's okay. I like it.
You know the right people, essentially.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yes.
You got fast tracked.
We gotta get Dave the shirt first because he'll wear it on this Friday's vodka stream.
Yes, he has a vodka stream.
Exactly. Gotta do it. So I appreciate you coming on again. It's almost been 4 months to the day. I mean, man, time flies. I tell you what, because you came on the show, you came on the vodka stream, right? 214.
Which was, goodness.
Yeah. So it's been almost 4 months. I know, right? It seems like it was like not even that long ago.
And what's happened since then?
No, not much. That's why I'm like, this is going to be a short conversation. I don't think there's been much that's happening. No,
right.
There's been a lot that's happened. So, how is it going in your world with everything that's been happening in the last 4 months?
So I'm going to make an official announcement that this is the last show that I'm going to do for a while.
Yeah, I'm serious. You've been making the rounds.
And I need to disappear. Like I saw
you making the rounds, and I was like, last Friday I thought about asking you to come on there, but I knew you were like making the rounds. So I was like, you know what? Let me just wait a little bit, and then I'll wait till this Friday. And then I figured you were like kind of exhausted when it comes to doing all this stuff.
Well, first off, I'm sick of hearing myself. And secondly,
really, I don't know what that's like.
I'm tired of, I don't want to repeat myself that often. I don't want to get to a point where anybody listening to any of the times that I show up on different places are like, oh, he said this already, or this isn't interesting anymore. So, but more importantly, I have until July 30th to finish this book. So now I need to really, because it was done.
Yeah.
It was, the manuscript was finished and I was going through it line by line, just editing it. And then Zach was like, nope.
And guess what? You're going to have a whole other chapter or 5.
Yeah. So, and again, listen, I'm never going to complain. It's the best possible problem in the world to have. But I'm stuck in a spot right now where essentially one of the big things that I'm needing to rewrite is the opening paragraph, because I had a completely different opening paragraph. It was going to start at Snyder Con, and it was going to start with him essentially confirming that he had a cut, the Devin Fuentes video.
Yeah.
So that's not starting there anymore. And so much of the book has to be not rewritten, but it has to be at least rephrased in a way, because a lot of it was written from the tone of, if it happens, might it happen? What do we do if?
That's one of the things I was going to ask you. I'm like, how much does, now the announcements out there, how much does it alter the book?
Yeah, I mean, a ton, because it alters how I get into the story, and it alters it's like ultimately the story was always just, we don't know when it's going to happen, but these are the people who are fighting really hard for it, and this is why they're fighting for it.
Yeah.
And now that it is happening, it just reframes it. Now it's like, look, they succeeded, these crazy sons of bitches. But here's one problem, and then I'll stop pontificating.
It's okay.
I had a year to work on my opening, like I kept going back and refining the opening, because I was like, well, this is where everyone's going to start, And now I have a month to refine a new opening. So, and I hate it. I hate my opening right now, and I just have to get past it and kick into what I have. So we're working on it.
One of the questions I wanted to ask, because I kind of mentioned it because people were talking about Christopher Nolan, the fact that movies, he's holding strong with Tenet and everything, and they're gonna test the waters with Inception. And somebody asked, like, what movie would you want them to re-release? And one of my all-time favorite movies is Memento, Christopher Nolan's second movie, the one that really kind of put him on the map. And I just love that movie. I love the way that the story is told backwards, but also forwards. And he has a really great explanation of how he told that story. There's like a video that I saw probably a month or so ago, the way that he explains it. And it's just so beautiful. And it inspired me to write, when I saw it years and years and years ago, to write a script to write a couple scripts, to be honest. And then one of the scripts that I wrote, it survived like one of the many moves that I've had because I kind of jump around a little bit.
Mhm.
And I had like 4 like screenplays that I wrote at one point, and 3 of them got destroyed by water damage. One of them, the thriller, the one that got inspired by Memento, survived. And I was like, I'm going to try to convert that into a novel.
Right.
But it's just so hard to find time to finish it. I got probably about 85% of it done. And I wanted to ask you, since you're writing this book, I mean, where do you find the time?
It's really hard.
Yes.
It's hard because I'm trying to still be present in the lives of my family, right?
Exactly.
Like, I have a wife and kids. The kids, not so much. My boys are old enough now where they really have their own stuff going on. They are teenagers.
How many boys do you have?
2 boys, and they are 16 and 12.
Nice.
And they are self-sufficient. Like one of them's driving. The other one's got a ton of friends and he's into his own thing. And it's easier for me to slip away than it would have been, God forbid, when they were younger. I would never have been able to do this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'll talk about with writing, and this too, it eats away at you. You have to keep feeding it, right?
Yeah.
Like I find, especially with this book, that I'm thinking about little else. I always want to go back and just keep playing with it because it's like a clay, and the more that you mold it and the more that you shape it, it's when it sticks, when everything comes together and you're like, oh, I'm really happy with that paragraph, or I'm really happy with this chapter. It's so rewarding. But you only know when it's right when you get to it. So it takes a lot of time. My wife has been amazing in that she just understands. She understands that I need to get it out. I'm a journalist and a writer by trade, so this is not totally new. It'd be like if I were a car salesman or working in some other thing and be like, I want to write a book, and taking all the time away to do this, but I write all the time.
Yeah.
So, but it takes weekends. I am taking weeks at a time off of work, where they're encouraging me to burn days and just really for 8 or 9 hours of the day, laser focus on getting it right. And that's what got the manuscript to the point where I needed it to be. But Dave, it went fast. It went fast to the point where, like, this was September when I started putting this together, and August, September, where I kind of put the template of it together. And then once you have the template, I just kind of filled it in. And I'm sure you kind of know this with a screenplay too. It probably gives you what your chapter layout is. And sometimes some of them write themselves and some of them are a challenge to get through.
Well, yeah. I mean, even like right now, like before, I mean, it's funny too, because the announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League messed with something that I was putting together. I was going to put a series of videos just from basically from the reception of BVS till now, just all the information that I've gathered, from sources, from everything that I heard and all the stuff. I was going to have a series of videos where I was just going to talk about everything that had to do with the Snyder Cut. And, I outlined it. And I'm sure, that's one of the steps you do is just kind of outline it. Like, okay, I'm going to have a video on this and then this part 1, part 2, part 3, and just kind of outlined it. And then all of a sudden he announces it. And I'm like, now what do I, and now it's like, now I got to mess with things. And then I have to postpone it because now I have all these other ideas to do, like videos and just kind of talk about certain things and discuss certain things. So, I totally understand when that all happened, it's just you got to go back almost and just kind of tweak things and just mess around with things. But another thing I wanted to ask you too, when you brought up your family, when it comes to the Snyder Cut, because friends and family, when you explain that concept, do you ever do they ever look at you like, what the hell are you doing? Or anything?
Well, so my boys tease me all the time. My nickname is just Snyder Cut. They're like, what's up, Snyder Cut? And they're a little bit tired of hearing it. My oldest jokes that the book is gonna produce Jeep money. He would like a Jeep. Okay. And I just tell him that he's delusional, essentially, at this point. Yeah. But I'll tell you something really funny that connected. They know that it's a thing, and they know that I've kind of been laser focused on it. But on May 20th, when the cut got announced, it at least was trending everywhere on social media. That my 16-year-old, came out of his room in the most authentic response, and he was like, why the hell is the Snyder Cut trending on Twitter? Like, to him, it's just a thing that's in our house.
Yeah.
And my wife just burst out laughing. She was
I'm
like,
sure.
now do you understand what your father is involved in? And I mean, I give Michelle, my wife, all the credit in the world, for she's the one that brought the focus of the book around to the people in the movement, because she's, you know, as interested in film as any supportive spouse would be, but it's not her lifeblood, essentially.
Yeah.
So when I explain superhero movies and comic book movies and stuff like that, you know, she'll pay attention, but she a little bit glazes over, you know, half.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I mean, like there's been times too where like I've explained the whole thing to friends or family, you know, and it's funny too, because you know, the fanboy in me starts coming out when I'm starting to like explain certain things. Like I have a cousin who's like a big fan of Superman. And every time that, you know, there's a family get together, we talk about all that stuff. And like for like the past 2.5 years, you know, whether it was Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter or something like that, he's like looking at me like, so what's up? What's going on? You know, what are you talking about? And then other people might start like getting into the conversation, but they have no idea what I'm talking. And then I have to like kind of do a backstory, be like, well, this is what happened. You remember that Justice League movie? Remember how awful it was? You know, kind of thing, and just kind of explain certain things. So that's why I wanted to kind of like ask you, since you're like, you know, you got this book coming out, and I just always wonder, like, what was it like explaining that to family, friends, and
friends is the hardest part, because a lot of friends are really excited to find out that I'm writing a book, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. What's it about? And I only get 2 lines into it, the pitch, and you can see them checking out, you know. So I need a more refined pitch and with some real sexy adjectives in there to make it seem really appealing to them. So
yeah, but I mean, at least you got that support system from the family. That's always what's good. So one of the thing I wanted to ask you too, like I know you went back and kind of, you know, you're shaping the book and everything like that, but what would you say was like the most interesting part writing the book?
I had just personal experiences. The chapter where I got to explain about going to the set, you know, was a really special time to recollect. I was keeping in my back pocket the chapter about when I went to the Army of the Dead set visit, and the stuff that I learned from Zack that day. That was really what I thought to be valuable quotes, and his perspective of where he was at that time, you know, with the movement. That was shortly after the Times Square billboards, and he was very aware of the fact that was happening, and it was one of the first times that we got to speak to him and find out how he felt about what the movement was doing publicly, you know. But the funny thing is, and this has been a challenge as well too, not that those things lose their value or lose their impact, but they're not as special in the book as what I have now after the fact, because I've been lucky enough to speak to him since he made the announcement and get more of the story from different angles, where we cover a lot of other ground, and he gives me his perspective about where he is now. But I don't want to lose those pieces because, and I was explaining this on another show, there's an incredible happy accident to this book that I don't think I never planned. And if anybody else tried to get into it now, it wouldn't be possible. In that I started it at a time when nobody knew that this was going to be achieved, right?
Yeah.
So most of the people who I spoke, and this is people involved in the film, and this is people in the movement. We're still very much we're fighting really hard to make this happen. Zack too. Speaking to Zack on the Army of the Dead set, he was still very much like, I appreciate the fight. You know, I think it's really important that they're doing this. We need to make our voices heard. We need to change what's going on at Warner Brothers. If I tried to go back and get all of those quotes or all of those stories now after the fact, it would be impossible. It would be really, really difficult. So I find it so rewarding that I was able to put the story of the movement together while the movement was in its prime, essentially, you know, and then be there to celebrate with them after the fact. It's actually stupid remarkable, you know, that the timing of it worked the way that it did, because I really do believe I was really proud of the book when it was its own thing before the cut was announced. But now that it's announced and it has the ability to have an ending, I honestly believe, and maybe I'm overselling it, but I honestly believe the book has the ability to be something really, really special. So I hope we'll see.
I think it will be. I think it will be. I mean, it's crazy how things end up happening. I mean, like you said, it was just when you first started the book, you thought, okay, this is a thing that might not happen, from years from now. I mean, there's been so many times where I get people asking me like, "Oh, is it going to happen?" And I always just say, "Don't lose hope." But we could be in the long haul. We could be in it for the long haul. And I always would say, "I'm like, don't lose hope. We, keep on doing whatever the hell you want to do. I'm going to keep doing my thing. Any kind of information that comes out." But then all of a sudden, it was just like, I mean, I think there was like a real turning point after November 17th of last year when that all happened, and then all of a sudden when he released the shirt with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, to a lot of people, it's like, that's a brand. He just branded it right there. Yes. Something happened, and we were all kind of speculating, but we weren't sure exactly when is it going to be announced. And I think we were on Fatal J's stream, and we were both asked like, well, when do you think it's going to be announced? And I think we both kind of almost had a similar thing, like maybe it'll be announced this year, but it won't come out next year. I didn't think it was going to be announced till like the end of the year, if anything.
Well, COVID really messed things up. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of stand by the fact that if he screened it in February for executives, if the world was normal and he could have shot and filled in some gaps, I think he wanted it ready for the launch, for the HBO Max launch. Yeah. I don't know. I'm speculating, but it feels like he could have finished it in time for the launch from February to May, the end of May, if the timeline sort of syncs up. But I don't know.
That damn COVID just messing up everything.
Screwing everything up, isn't it?
Hey, I tell you what. But luckily, hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Let me tell you one thing that Zach told me.
Okay.
During our interview.
Just go ahead and tell us everything that Zach told you. Go.
Yeah, sure. Right. Exactly. This is funny. I said this on another show, but I mean it. The part of me is really protective. Like I want there to be some secrets. I want there to be some reveals, when the movement picks up the book. But I honestly do also feel that like the movement's going to get the book regardless. But I really would like it to be interesting to you guys.
Well,
when you
it's
read
almost
it.
similar to like, because a lot of people always go like, well, isn't Snyder like revealing too much with his images and everything like that? Yeah. I'm like, you're going to watch it anyways. Okay. No matter what. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of like crazy reveals that we didn't see, but no matter what, we're still going to watch it. We're still going to enjoy it. So I totally understand what you're saying.
And he straight up confessed to me at the end of it, at the end of our conversation, which I thought was really touching. He said, look, man, when you started this book, he essentially admitted, like, I knew you were working on it. But when you started I didn't think there was a chance of this happening anytime soon. Like that's how fast it seemed to happen on his end also. Yeah. And he said, so to me, it was a real leap of faith on your behalf, to even begin putting this together. And he goes, I'm just really thrilled that we got to a point where I'm able to talk to you about this, and fill in a lot of the gaps. And I never thought of it that way. And it was really cool to hear that from him. So,
yeah, because I'm wondering if like, you got the interview after it got announced, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, like you said, you didn't have that part of the book, which is all his quotes. And I'm sure there's a ton of quotes that you're going to have. Like, I don't know the way that you're going to structure it, whether you're going to have like quotes throughout the book or just have a chapter dedicated to it.
I'm going to lace them throughout.
Yeah. I had a feeling that that's what was going to be the case, which is fantastic. I think that's a good way to go by it. But I mean, the fact that, it's just so awesome that it actually got announced. And the fact that, that if it didn't get announced, you just have a book, that was about the whole movement, and it still would have been great. And we still all would have gotten in and read it and everything like that. But now it's extra special because now you got his quotes like lining all throughout the book, which is great.
Well, and I was told back in March by my direct contact to him, his publicist, essentially, that he couldn't talk. Like March was officially when I was told. Well,
he was like radio silent for like 2 months. He wasn't posting anything. A lot of people were like, "What's going on?" And it was just kind of just hold on,
Yeah. And I guess it was the negotiations essentially.
Yeah.
And so when I was told that, that's when I decided, or that's when I realized, okay, I have to make the book work without him, kind of thing. which I was always prepared for,
Yeah.
because I went into this endeavor never imagining that he would contribute.
That's
to
the
it.
way you have to go. Yeah, you have
Of course.
to go through like that. Yeah.
And it's funny. I can admit this now, thank God. But there was a huge concern in the back of my mind that if I came out with a release the Snyder Cut book, the first question that anyone should ask me is, "Oh, cool. Did you talk to Zack Snyder?" and if my answer is no, then I fully anticipate you saying, "Okay, cool," and then throwing the book off to the side. Because what value does a Snyder Cut book have if you don't get to talk to Zack?
Yeah.
But I still tried to convince myself, like, no, there's still value. And there would be. There honestly would be. It would still be a really great story.
Yeah.
But that component would be missing. And I know I would judge whoever wrote that book if they didn't get a chance to talk to him. So I'm so thankful and so appreciative to him that he took the time to contribute to it. So
it's so awesome. It's just so awesome how things work out. Were you able to talk to anybody else from the crew cast? No.
Still trying to get Terrio. That's my last.
There you go. That's a good one.
I don't have Terrio yet, and I'm still trying to get him. But everybody else I've kind of lined up that I have quotes from them that have still been relevant to the construction of the thing. But I mean, ultimately, having Zack comment on just about all of it, and it's funny. Like, I prepped these questions the entire time that I wrote the book.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was always, whenever I got to a point, I was always like, I would love him to follow up on this. I would love him to and I just made a list, and I had it, so that when they finally, once the cut was announced, I went right to his people again, and I was like, how about now? And every time that we turned a corner on something, I was always like, how about now? And they'd be like, nope, he still can't. No, he still can't. And then when he made the announcement that day, I wrote them and I was like, let's do it. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like,
hallelujah.